I fixed mine.
New hat again.
Well, you know,
It's the third time in
actually
3
looks
meetings.
good. Where can I get one?
John, have an extra.
Oh, really? You have some.
It's cheaper in a way.
So we called meeting to order
Yeah.
at 7:01.
No, it was solve medical problems in the world.
Yeah, right. So, first we should address the minutes, which I assume everyone except Sue has read.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
It looked extensive and correct to me.
Thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would thank you for your efforts. I did feel like they left out another side of the commentary, which I can give you.
Please do, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I did not look through the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it felt like there was a lot more commentary about, you know, more positive and different concerns than the ones that were presented in here.
Okay.
So I can,
So.
I marked something up.
Okay.
And there are suggestions, but that's if anybody ever reads these.
Well, the consultant's nice.
Yeah, anyway, there's in red, and if you feel any of them are wrong, I'd be happy to reconsider.
What's the best way for doing this? We could approve these minutes. Should I take John's comments, merge them in, send them to the group, and have them approved? at a
You know, I
subsequent
mean,
meeting?
what you could do is read them over, and if you want to, you know, send them to everybody
Okay.
and see
Well,
if
we
they.
can't approve them unless it's a public meeting.
And then we can approve them at our next
At our
meeting.
next meeting,
We're
if
gonna
that's,
meet
again.
okay, yeah.
So-
Good, I'll do that.
All right, so those are the minutes.
Sue, any update on funding for additional forums?
Oh, there is none.
Okay. So we're still at one forum.
Yep.
I think the consultants sent back their, or my phone call, they sent back to you and Sue and Rusty and myself.
And,
Basically a note saying thank you for the phone call, and they reported that they'd spent approximately 9,500 of the 15,000 thus far. I think that's roughly correct.
Yeah, I think
a lot of it.
David Robbins forwarded that to everybody.
He did.
Yeah, yeah, because it looked like a lot of the money was from the final report that they were.
Oh,
It
yeah.
seemed like, yeah, I mean, a good percent.
Is they're gonna be integrating the input from the forum.
Right, and then do a whole final report.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Duncan.
Hi, guys.
Pull the chair up.
Thank you. Any chair?
The special chair.
It's a-
Actually, somebody else is pulling in too, so. I will remind you, Duncan, we are videotaping, so.
Where the hell is
Maybe
it?
make it.
There's Rusty. So we've been running the meeting for 4 or 5 minutes, so we've already covered a couple topics.
Right on time as usual.
7:30 better. Family life, I can't manage too. Anyhow.
Your comment was,
About.
they reported that they had
Right,
burned about
right,
9,500 of
and-
the 15,000.
Right, and that they were probably, and there's some reserved, and part of that is integrating what public input they received at the forum to the report. It's not just the reporting of the numbers, but it also, yeah, so that I can understand why there would be some left, and it's good that there's some left.
The crowd thickens.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought I'd be able to get here, but we had to move it through quickly.
So I think we have have a decision to make as a group and discussion about how we proceed or don't proceed. They presented options to go forward. The way I read the email back to us was they weren't that open to doing additional edits. Is that your impression? And that, that they had already overrun some of their time, and that they basically were, this is it, and we can present it once in a forum like, and then we'll write it up. Or you guys can say, enough is enough, and we can just stop the project as is. So.
Or I think they also said, or do 3.
Yeah, but we already talked to Sue, and there is no more funds. The town has said they don't have it, or the selectmen have said they don't have it, and the Lyme Foundation has turned us down. Okay?
Unless
So-
some angel comes along.
Did you play your, did you get a ticket?
That'll solve a lot of problems. Comments about how people wanna respond to their emails that I think it was forwarded to everyone from David.
So I would just say that I thought at the last meeting, we sort of discussed the fact that there's money there still for one forum, not more than one forum, and that we would decide at the success of that forum whether we would even consider more forums, but,
That was one of the options that we laid out.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it seems like if we're gonna go forward, we need to have at least one forum, you would think. Well, we have to, really.
I mean, one of the other things that we said last time was that as a group, we need to be able to stand behind the numbers and say, yes, indeed, there are 700 developed homes in town, and there are this many kids, and this is a reasonable distribution of kids per home, and, you know, I think there's a difference. Certainly, I don't believe the consultants offered any, evidence to show that there's the same number same number of kids average in different kinds of homes around town. And that's something that we asked them about.
Or say that again? Just
So,
different-
I will submit there are fewer children in smaller and less expensive homes than in larger homes. That's my belief.
Yes.
And, I mean, I think it stands to reason, little house, not many people,
That doesn't stand.
and so.
Okay, let's
So-
let's
so-
time out.
Okay.
You know, we're not gonna, we got some numbers from these guys. I think that, we've really we're avoiding the main issue, which is that we need to have a discussion broader than around this table with the community. And I believe that the titles of some of those slides could be changed to make it seem more of the message, or so that they're descriptive, stand on their own. But that's supposed to be, like, if we're having a 60-minute meeting, that's supposed to be 10 minutes, run through, here's what they found, and the rest of it's supposed to be about engaging our town and talking about, you know, what's the future gonna look like here, and, you know, and there isn't a magic bullet about the taxes. So I think arguing about numbers of kids in houses is not the right way to go, right now.
Okay.
And that we owe it to the people who know about this project to let them have problems with the numbers. You know, I think it all should be printed, everyone gets it in advance, but we need to have that forum, and I think that that is why we're really here, is to get the community engaged to talk about it. And it's not about, the numbers are a background piece.
Yeah, I would agree that, I mean, there are various perspectives about what's right or wrong about the numbers, but it's beside the point. We hired them to facilitate forums, they have numbers, and I don't think everybody, it's gonna be impossible for everybody around this table to agree on all the numbers or all the perspectives that they took for different reasons. But I think they're a good basis for the community to react to, and they're gonna have to defend their numbers, not us. I don't think we're ever gonna all be happy with every number that they put forward. But the town, they're up there for the people in the town to respond to and challenge where appropriate or inappropriate and necessary.
My only problem is I thought the slides left more questions open than need be. That the
I
data
think that they
wasn't
need
as.
to be more descriptive, the titles are like, what's the point of this?
Conclusion, exactly.
Yes,
So-
yes, I agree.
And
Yeah,
I felt that, you know, when you have a presentation, when you have a forum, you present data and you try to simplify it so people understand what you're saying with that slide.
Yeah, some of those slides
I
were not
agree.
good.
So, you know, I think I said in the last meeting, I would never take those slides in front of my board of directors because there are more questions at the end of the forum than the beginning. And I thought we needed to clean that up. When they came back to us and said, hey, well, we're basically done editing, I got a bad feeling about proceeding with those slides.
Mhm.
You know, I'd rather say to them, you know, we want a 4-hour session where we can finalize these slides, and we want you to give a forum, and you can skimp on the final report. But I do feel strongly that I want the slides to be clearer before we present them in front of one group of townspeople. That's not ideal, but if we get really positive feedback, maybe an Angel will step forward and we can do 2 more.
Mhm.
But at this point, we don't have the money to do 3.
Right,
So
Yeah.
let's get some
Yeah.
slides that we can all agree on. You know,
Yeah, I
if
agree.
the group says, you know, 2 weeks from now we can meet, we'll get 2 or 3 hours with them, we'll clean up the slides. We're not all gonna agree, but at least we'll agree that the slides say something,
mhm,
and then we'll pick a date for the forum.
So, yeah, I mean, if the parameters are that we're looking for clarity as opposed to, you know, arguing about the figures, but looking for clarity of presentation.
Yeah,
I'm
is this
totally-
slide representing 1 through 8 or 1 through
Exactly,
or 12?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, or is this, does this 2-word phrase mean anything to anybody?
Right.
What was it, normalized or?
Equalized.
Equalized, yeah, right, yeah.
So if we could go back to them and say, okay,
Mhm.
here's how we wanna proceed. We wanna do a 2 or 3 hour meeting. You know, you guys come up, we sit down in the room, we finalize the slides, you give a forum, whatever's left with existing money, you use for the final write-up, and we're done.
mhm.
So, a couple of things, just to remember. So one thing is, if we're eating up additional time, maybe we should do another Zoom, because that'll eat up like 2 hours of their time if they're traveling.
Mhm.
So maybe we should do another Zoom thing.
Yeah.
Was,
Well, just because we don't have to pay for their travel time.
right, I mean, I don't remember specifically the terms of the contract, which they conveniently mailed back to us. Did we agree to cover their travel time?
I think it was built into their cost,
It's time and material.
yeah.
I didn't feel it was that productive because of the problem.
Yeah,
And quite frankly, we went through that and we didn't get the edits we
yeah,
had hoped for.
yep,
So that's why I was hoping for face-to-face.
Well, face-to-face would be better, you're
Well-
just gonna eat up 2 hours of
I
those
agree,
5 hours.
I think it's gonna be hard to do it
I wonder,
electronically again, I think it's.
well, the other thing is, a subset of us goes over there and saves them the travel time because this needs to get done.
Yeah,
And I believe that the slide set needs to be prepackaged and available on the listserv and picked up at the library, so everyone has an opportunity to look at those things. Some of those slides are too complex and they shouldn't even be in there, but each one, in and of itself, should,
Standalone.
this is what the point of this slide is. And it shouldn't be an economist that needs to be able to read it, it's gotta be your average person who can say, oh, that's that number and relate to it.
May I say something, just as an observer? You people have hired this firm, and just from the outside here, it doesn't sound particularly amicable to me, but what I do wanna say is one of the greatest words that I've heard tonight is participation. That is a great word. They have identified in the paper that, what I've looked at, the largest issue in this town is the school, the cost, as it applies to the taxes. Now, participation is a great word, and the only way you're going to get this town to participate is to blend the town meeting with the school meeting. You cannot keep them separate. If you keep them separate,
I'm not following, what meeting with what meeting?
the school meeting with the town meeting,
Oh,
if you keep them separate, they will be, the disparity will increase, always. And, I mean, I just fear that there is no participation. And, you know, I've spoken with Tim a little bit about it, and he says that it's increasing, the participation is increasing, but it certainly is not similar to the participation in.
So is that an issue for this group, or is that a issue for the selectmen?
Yeah, and that's
Well,
maybe
the
a
selectmen-
recommendation
the
to come
selectmen-
out of this.
yeah, I mean,
work.
these are some of the things that
Yeah.
hopefully would
That's
come
a
out of
great
this.
recommendation.
It
The
is.
selectmen have to put it forward. I mean, and
So,
this is
but
a
again, we've
state,
been running this group for a year, and what
Yeah.
we need to do is get to
but
the
they have
forum.
identified the problem.
Well,
All right, we'll get, you know, getting
that
back.
could be an opinion that you bring up at the forum.
Okay.
And, some of us at this table might agree with you, some may not, but I don't think we're gonna solve that tonight.
No, I just wanted to.
Okay.
I think it's a
That's
good
a
point,
great
it's a
idea.
good point.
But,
Before I forget it, we need to make sure that it's okay to video that first one,
Mm.
so that we have that
Okay.
available.
so, again, I'm all about
It's a public
conclusions,
meeting.
okay? So, I'm gonna send them an email with everyone's approval
Mhm.
that says, we'd like to have a 2 or 3 hour meeting. A subset of us will come down, if that'll save time, at a date and time we all agree on.
Mhm.
Or you guys can come up for our next meeting 2 weeks from now, or whatever.
Well, we want to, I mean, we do want to have a decent final report, because
Right.
that's what we're gonna work from.
We need to.
So I'd rather not blow the money on having them.
See,
come
I
up
think the
with-
forum's more important than the final report.
The forums are extremely important, but I assume that the final report is gonna be what they're gonna say
Okay.
happened in the forum.
Not from what I've seen.
I thought that was part of the,
What they're putting together, I don't think is gonna be I think what comes out of the forum is what's gonna be important to go forward.
so their final
Not-
report is not gonna incorporate the forum?
It was.
It's in a
It was.
report, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna draw conclusions, it's just gonna say, here's what people said.
Right, which is what we need.
Well,
Well,
but
we
we
can
can,
record that.
we can say that, I mean, we can record that and say that ourselves. These are the various opinions that people brought up.
Right.
I mean, I think, I would wanna see
Okay.
their final report summarize and pull together the knowledge that they've accrued by doing this study. They say, this is where Lyme is, this is what Lyme spends, I mean, whatever they say. And that the final report should summarize for the people that can't make it to the forum or 5 years after wanna say, what the heck did they say? That report should say the gist of the
Okay.
presentation.
So I'd still like to minimize the wasted money on travel time, if possible.
So we should go over there.
I mean, I think ideally.
I have a
Laconia,
couple of questions.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, missed a few meetings, but nevertheless. Sometimes we get so involved in numbers and figures that don't mean squat to most people. So what exactly is this group, number one, hope to get, let's say, from all of this? If you have a forum, what is the reason of having the forum? If you throw out number after number after number, they're just gonna go to sleep. And it doesn't, so is this group going to say, this is what we've studied, and here are a couple of suggestions?
Well, it's gonna
Period.
it's gonna be the consultants, and that's, I mean, that's.
No, I think it's you guys, us guys.
Those
No.
guys haven't come to conclusions
The,
yet.
the
'cause we need
consultants
to hear
are,
from
in terms of the
them.
forum, are gonna present their numbers, and one of the reasons I'm probably a little less concerned about their numbers, negative or positive, is because I think everything that's presented is really gonna just be a starting point, for people to express their opinions. And whether those numbers are perfect or not is, they should be as good as possible, but it's really mostly gonna be about the community, not the numbers which are gonna be sort of the starting point. So I can live with a little bit of messiness there, but.
So when we were given our original charter, I think what I understood was that we were to gather data for which we could present to the town so that they could make educated decisions.
But I think they're gonna be looking at these guys and gals that are working on this for a year to thin it
Yes.
down and present what, some core items,
The important few.
the important few, yeah.
And that's why I have a problem with the presentation as it still stands, because I don't think we're there yet.
Okay, but that's what people, if they're gonna come out of their house now in the snowstorm and come to a forum, I think that they would expect the people who've been working on it for a year and say, hey, folks, here's the core problems, and here are maybe some potential answers to them.
So my feeling is that consultants aren't willing to do that, they don't wanna take a position, and some of the people at this table want them just to present a variety of data, okay? So there is some tension at this table about them making
But I think
conclusions.
they have made conclusions. They have made
Certainly,
conclusions.
when I read that, I was unclear of many of those slides, what they were trying to tell us.
About the specific slides, but in general, they made conclusions. They have made conclusions.
I didn't see a conclusion slide.
Not a conclusion slide, but they, I mean, at the first meeting, they stated that,
It has to be in the slides so that people can read it and understand it
It has to be
before they sit
simple,
down.
it's not like the innuendo
Yeah.
or this subtle message.
So I'm fine,
Needs to
I'm
be-
fine with me if when we meet with them, we tell them,
We need
put
to
your
have-
conclusions in the slides.
Right, right.
But it seems like, Chris, at the forums, if people ask them specific questions, they're going to explain where the numbers came from, and hopefully they'll explain all of it. We
Right.
may not agree with them, but at least they'll explain what they think.
Mhm.
They're
And
coming
then-
from a factual basis, they've got no access to grind.
Right.
And it's not up to them to recommend to us what our economic future is. It's not up to this table either. What we need to do is go and listen to what the community has to say and then make some recommendations back after we've heard something.
And
It's-
again, can I-
That's
please
just how we,
continue.
that's just how, I mean, the whole process was set up, to be able to present some information and get some feedback from the rest of the community. Not that these people sitting around the table are gonna have all the right ideas. Even if we did, how do we, we wanna hear what other people think.
And I was hoping for clearer data. Here's how you stand, this is the conclusion, you're 30% less, you're 40% more. The next set of data, you're more or less, or you're in the middle, so that people understand where Lyme sits about making decisions going forward.
Well, I think the consensus agrees with you, which is, why we're talking about having another meeting with them, so.
Okay?
So Chris, you started to summarize that we should meet for 2 or 3 hours with consultants here, or if need be, we go to them.
Then, to save time and money. Mhm.
And from that comes a presentation that we think is a clear statement of whatever data they intend to talk about.
A refining of the 25 slides that they've given us one last time, which they're loath to do.
And can we say, with some sense of their conclusions, because that would be helpful,
Yes.
with some sense of their conclusion.
Okay.
At which point we can schedule a forum and publicize it and have it, and we'll make sure that we can record it. And we can make sure that we publish it ahead of time so everyone can read it and people can pick it up at the library. And then hopefully, if it's well received, that we come up with a way to have forum number 2 and forum number 3 to reach more people.
And questionnaire,
If we can put it, record it, and we can put it on YouTube, and people can watch it at their convenience, and get the information, and we can have follow-up, not forums, but discussion sessions, rather than try to present the whole thing again.
Agreed, and I think we can get fairly creative once
Yep.
we get through and we can record it, but we need to make sure we can do that.
Okay.
I would also ask that we ask them for all their underlying data, so that we can review it, because if we have a question about, where did this number come from, we can look again
Yep.
after the fact.
Whether that be footnotes or actually the actual data, as long as they give us the source.
Right.
I think we talked about some of that in our comments, understanding the source.
Yeah, but I think if we present it to them, that we just think some of their slides are a little too obtuse for the average, you know,
For me,
average
they're too
person.
obtuse for me.
Yeah.
Okay, they
And
don't say any average
They
person,
should
it's just like, I
understand
don't
that.
get it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also afraid that the people who are really stressed and suffering from the high taxes, it's gonna be very difficult for them to feel as though, they should try to participate, and they should say things. I think that, say, 25% of our population just is gonna, they don't know how to handle it. The people who don't care about taxes or are just annoyed, they're the ones that pipe up in the meetings and say, I don't know how to cope with that problem. I don't. And I'm very stressed about the fact that the people who are really suffering are going to be left out of this whole thing on their, maybe self-inflicted on their part, but I don't know what to do about it.
well, I mean,
I don't know.
certainly help if we do good publicity.
Making paper copies available.
Well, we gotta
I mean,
have
so
those
that-
flyers, you know,
Yep.
once we pick a date. I think I think publicity is really important, and people talking to people, like people who you know are concerned about this. Yeah, I think it takes person-to-person interaction.
I think that is probably a really important thing, is to identify yourself, who these people are, and talk to them personally.
Yes.
The charts and
That's the most-
diagrams,
yeah.
things on the computer are way out of their reach.
It-
Can I say one thing? I've studied this whole issue by myself, and I've also gone out and looked at the rental market. And the goddamn rental market makes our taxes look very reasonable, which is shocking. I mean, this is shocking, what's going on here in terms of the rental market. You cannot get a small house for less than 25 grand a year, and that's no ownership. You cannot get a 2-bedroom place in Lebanon, condo in Lebanon, for less than $25,000 a year. Sometimes a 1-bedroom is $25,000. What we're up against here is we have a rental market that is so out of control and on fire that it makes even my issue, you know, I don't believe that my living in this town is a good thing for me, because I worry, and I don't wanna live and worry. That's my issue. I don't wanna worry about paying my taxes. I wanna pay my taxes. When I moved here, I felt it was doable, but the rate of increase has been so drastic that, you know, the idea, for me, is no longer palatable. However, by doing my research on the rental market, it's astonishing. I mean, you cannot have someone complain about a $15,000 tax bill, when in fact, if they had to replace their living situation, it would be $25,000, and they would have no ownership. So there's a great divide here, and it's too bad, because it makes the town, it puts the town even in a worse situation.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why we're having the forum, so that these facts can be put out.
Those are
On the
pretty
one hand, we have, we pay a lot of taxes, but we have a high, I forget the term, but a high, what is it?
High
Valuation.
valuation.
High valuation, which makes our houses worth a lot, and certain people pay higher shares of taxes to cover a lot of things. One of the reasons getting all these facts together and presenting them is because there are a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And it's not linear, it's not like, if only I do A, everything else, when you do A, it affects B, C, and D. And it's a complicated, difficult issue throughout the state. We're trying to address it to some degree through doing this. And hopefully, at the end of the day, we'll get at least, we'll have an informed public, and maybe through some creativity, we'll come up with some positive impacts.
Go back to Earl's concern, I do think if we can agree on a presentation and a forum, Earl, that then we can finally get to focusing on the communication piece, which you were rightfully, if we don't succeed there, we failed. But I feel like if we don't get through the next two steps of getting these finalized and getting the first forum done.
Well, that's fine, that has to be done.
It has to be done, and then, if we take a look at who shows up and who doesn't show up, then we can try to focus that effort to address those fears over the next month or 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
Where's that gonna happen?
We
At
don't,
the gym?
we have to.
Where?
At the gym here?
That's where we were gonna do it at the school, when we had the 3 forum, I mean, it's likely, I assume it's likely to be at the
Most
school.
likely place, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest
That's where
place.
everything happens.
You know,
We've gotta pick a date, we've gotta pick the forum, and but we've gotta get the presentation first.
All right, well,
Okay?
I think,
Are people comfortable with that approach?
yeah,
Over the next 2 weeks to have the meeting with them or here or there. I'll go back and forth, and once there's some consensus, we'll have David send out a date and time and see how many people can make it. And are people all right with an afternoon weekday, an evening? What do people prefer?
You know, they'll probably wanna do it, if we do it over there, they'll probably wanna do it during the day, I
well,
would think.
I think we wanna do, we gotta get there and back, and it's easier during the day than at night this time of year.
I just don't know how flexible people are.
I have a job and another job, and so it all depends upon the day,
Okay.
whether I've got other things or not, and the weekdays are better. for
So I will
me.
shoot for a weekday afternoon.
And I think for
Thursdays are bad because it's a board meeting.
to be really productive, that we should all think about each one of those slides and whether or not we want it, number one, or does it go in an appendix as accessory information? And then if we come up with the title or the conclusion or whatever, to suggest some plain language to them, because it sounds like they are stopping creative with that. And, you know, I know that we didn't really wanna have to be in that position, but I think we may have to, in order to get this pushed
Or
along.
to complete it in 2 or 3 hours, we're gonna have to come in with our suggested solutions.
Yes,
I
yep,
agree with that.
yep, and I wish like crazy that we could ship the whole pile off to the regional planning commission and give us the regional average, or the regional
Mhm.
corresponding number. And I don't know if we could ask them to just insert that, then when, you know.
You can always ask.
We can always ask, so,
Who would
Well,
do
it's
that? Who would have
complicated
standing
because-
capacity?
who's our?
Steve Schneider is the director,
Right.
and he was also an applicant for this
Right.
job, so.
Right.
Right.
Well, but that's fine, I mean, they're there, we pay our dues.
Yep.
And I don't know, like, I know that we've paid them to do contract work this year, but when I was director, I always tried to help towns out by giving them something, a little
Well,
freebie.
that's one of their missions, basically.
And could you have somebody, you know, just give us the regional average?
For
or the-
these
or the
6, 8
region
slots,
median, yeah,
matching
right,
regional
and then we
data.
So do you wanna
tell-
make that ask?
I'm happy to do that.
Why don't you take that action item?
We've gotta figure out which slides we want.
Well, I'm gonna have them do them all, cause I mean, Rich may say, oh, these 5 I don't even care about, but it would be, even if we put them in an appendix, to have that regional median or average or whatever would be great. And, so I'm kinda willing to beg them.
Okay.
And if they say no, it's like, okay, fine.
Yep.
Do you have anything printed, you know, maybe that we can pull that out if we can get corresponding years.
Okay.
And just getting back to the arranging of time, does it make sense to have like 2 dates provided so, and see if we can get a maximum number of people?
I will ask them to provide 2 suggested dates, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, afternoons, and we'll circulate that, see how many people can attend, we'll pick the one that
We can
most of us get.
Well, and certainly the fewer that actually go, the quicker the meeting will be. So there's no harm in having a representative sample of the group.
Mhm.
If people can hand off written ideas for those
Let's
slides,
just send 10.
we could do that.
Real fast.
We could do that.
It'll be over very quickly.
Vicky, let me go back to something, you're gonna ask the question of Upper Valley Lake
The
Sunapee
Regional Planning Commission, if they can
Yes.
give us corresponding regional
Right.
numbers to insert into each of them. So
Perfect.
where it says Grafton County, we'd have the RPC number as well.
That, I just wanted to get that down
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
Another thing on the form here, I think, Vicky, your 2 ideas, that we should look at each slide and think about whether we want them in the formal presentation. I always talk about having bonus slides at
Right.
the end of a presentation, just like, yeah, if I need this information, I got it, but I'm not gonna
Right.
show you now because,
Right.
uh,
Well, they,
um,
and it could be an appendix to the like main, like, thing that we make available to people
Right.
online or
Mhm.
paper. These are just additional information for your, you know, but not really part of the conversation unless you wanna make it part of the conversation. So that, cause the ones that were all really wordy and, you know, you'd have to go like this,
Yeah, right.
they're too much information, good information, but too much for a slide.
right, exactly. And I also like your thought about tweaking up the headings.
Yeah.
We probably wanna,
Yeah,
we should bring in suggested wording.
yeah.
Third thing that I wanted to do was just to say, if they have an hour to present this, going through all those slides will take forever. And then you get to the last slide, which is kind of the interesting and the important one, and the one that we really ask. And there's one table, and, I mean, I think the presentation that we actually bring to the town wants to balance that so that
Mhm.
there's a bunch of prefatory stuff that says, number of people and all this stuff, and then, so here's the illustrations, because I think they are the important
Mhm.
part, so that's what I wanted to say.
Just a notice going forward, we don't have a whole lot of Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the next 2 weeks, because we have election today, and then Thanksgiving's coming right in there.
The election is in 2 weeks?
So if we
Sixth
give
is
them,
November.
so next, if we give them 1 week, then 2 weeks we're at election, so that bumps it out to 3 weeks.
So it'd be
And
the 13th.
then the next week is really Thanksgiving weekend, or, week.
Yeah, we're
so
hitting up
people are-
against all of it.
Right.
Well, we all have that. You
Yeah.
know, just-
Have you guys ever discussed Stellas? Purchasing Stellas, the town, creating?
I wanted to
a-
purchase Earl's, I mean,
Well,
come on,
that's-
I wanna
that-
go his,
Well,
to his first.
Yeah, but these are the things that can come out, and that's
Well,
not
I'm
gonna.
just wondering if you had a discussion. about
Well,
it.
I heard it suggested, I have heard it suggested.
For what purpose?
Revenue,
Huh?
revenue.
Yeah, for the town.
You need to understand something about that building. It is an old building
Yeah,
that has been modeled and remodeled. It is a hazardous fire trap.
it looks like one.
Okay, so I don't wanna digress.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know you're interested in the town investing, but that won't happen in my lifetime,
Okay. And he's a young fellow.
and I'm a young fellow.
At this table, yeah.
So does anyone wanna challenge that sort of timeline? Is
So
the
what are we
13th?
saying? We're
I
saying.
said, I'm just
we're
saying,
saying
really,
3
you're really
weeks?
kinda looking at that date
Okay.
as
Yes,
probably the only real date in front of us.
If it does get, in fact, pushed out to the 13th,
13th and 14th.
then we could circulate our suggested headings and slide summaries
Mhm.
as a group before we head down there.
14th is,
And I can
Which
take
should
the
be
lead on
plenty of
that.
time.
Plenty of time for us to all agree on what we'd like them to change, so that we can be as
Efficient.
as possible.
What's the matter with Mondays?
Oh, I don't know. He was just suggesting Tuesday. and
Someone said
Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesdays, just trying to echo the group.
It's just a holiday Monday,
And
that's all.
even next week, right, you talked about next week?
Oh, we got the 29th, 5th, the 12th, those are all Mondays, and Monday is Veterans Day. Some people observe it, some don't, so, you know, it might be a great opportunity to,
I will be open in the email I send to them tonight or tomorrow morning, and see what they come back with.
So where are we, Monday, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays over the next 3 weeks?
Yes.
except for Election Day.
Except for, yeah, election day, let's
So-
leave that.
On the 14th, we got the Manchester Conference.
That's,
What day of the week is that?
Wednesday,
The
the
14th,
14th.
Wednesday.
Okay. Well, there should be, that's a lot of days there with Monday,
Mhm.
Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Okay?
Okay?
Do we need a motion to do what you just said?
No, that's the
Okay.
plan.
That's enough. All right.
I'd like to make a motion that we don't need a motion.
All right. Good.
Next meeting,
2 weeks from today, which is
Which is
election.
That's
oh,
election day.
I've got to, yeah,
That won't happen.
That's a
That
long
won't
time.
be ready till
Unless
unless
we have-
everybody wants to sit at
we
home.
could have it at the.
What about,
Yeah, we have
at
to
the
be there
school,
anyhow.
what
at the
about
town hall.
Wednesday?
I'm already having it.
What about 2 weeks from tomorrow?
Wednesdays would be better.
That's the
but,
budget committee.
That's the
usually.
budget committee, okay.
So how about Monday?
What about the Monday?
5th.
12 days.
Does everybody go to budget committee?
When I'm in town.
1,
Okay.
2, 3,
12
4,
days.
three of us do.
What?
Eric's in the budget.
Yeah,
Let's shoot for the 5th, Monday.
Monday the 5th, yeah, okay.
Well, even if we don't,
No, we should have all of our annotated slides.
So, okay, and we're sending, it was a little unclear to me, what are the next steps the individual people should take, getting their,
Everyone can review the slides.
get them to
And-
you?
No, I would just get them in preparation for our next meeting.
Oh, have them.
I will try to get us a meeting date, and we will all try to either meet and come up with conclusions and summaries and better slides, so that when we meet with them, we're as concise as possible as a group.
So are we planning to meet with them after the 5th?
That would be my gut,
'Cause
but
it
if
would
they
make
come back and say we can meet on the 5th, then maybe we come back to group and say, can anybody meet
Earlier.
earlier?
Okay,
Right.
okay, got
Right.
it.
So we definitely want to meet before we speak to them.
I think it'd be helpful to
Yeah,
make it
I
concise,
absolutely
because
agree.
not all of
Yes.
us will be able to go down there.
Right.
And we won't know that till they pick a date,
Right. All right,
okay?
well done.
Motion to adjourn.
I'd make that motion. Second? All those in favor? Run out the door. Thank you for coming, Duncan.
Oh, you're
It's
welcome.
good to have public.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
And thanks for your
Well, it's a conundrum.
extra work, that's great.
It's a real conundrum.
Making a few phone calls.
Because the,
Better
Trying
you.
to- Trying to kick it forward.
big
Thank you for all that data.
You made it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I got you.
Where the hell do you-
Oh, I had heard,
And where is the cheapest place to put
This is, I
I've heard
don't think I said that to you.
I think you did.
Oh, that was on there?
I think you did.
Oh, good.
you're talking to 7 o'clock.
What are we at the
On the
school?
5th, I think that works for most people, yes.
The school is
I would love to have
wasting
coffee with you
more.
sometime, because I have a whole bunch of columns I have questions about.
No, a lot of-
I'm sure they're correct, I just don't understand them.
He's right there.
I'll be going from there.
Because, you know, it's just
You'll be
over
here.
the years, the last
I
couple
will.
of years,
They've been fighting over this for 6
some of the
years.
retired,
And you are
employees have current about.
So the only thing I still have, and I'll put it in there.
Do they,
I'm sure
I mean,
it
is
is, they
it,
get all the money there.
yeah, I mean, I know the general thing, which is like, just a lot of money spent, but are they like specific about
Well,
areas?
the last thing I know that one home was changed, $18,000. Change
Thank you,
the
Supervisor,
road.
for living, for your efforts. And we'll work on the minutes and
Houses and
get that
businesses,
done.
kind of I don't know, you know.
Yeah, this is a brave new world.
And a couple of
Thank you.
And I think,
You know, that's what's so inequity.
Yeah, well, that's,
What forces people to sell their property or whatever. That's a real job. All enough property.
certainly agree with that.